What's going on, guys? It's Mr. Darkcat here, back with another Hypixel Skyblock episode, and in today's episode we are going to be talking about the Enderman Slayer. So basically I'm just going to be doing the same thing as I've done the past 3 episodes, just talk about what the levels do, what you want from each level, and how to kill boss tier 1 through 4. So yeah, with all that aside, let's get right into it. Okay guys, I'm here again with my favorite NPC, Maddox the Slayer, and we're going to be talking about Void Gloom Seraph. So, I know how I said that the Wolf Slayer was more like the Pain Slayer. I don't know how to describe the Enderman Slayer. It's more than painful. Because it progresses so much. Like, as you see here, the first one has 300k health, and then 12 million, and then 50 million, and then 210 million. Like, that's just that's ridiculous. It just is. Anyways, but we'll talk about that in a moment. First, we gotta talk about these leveling rewards. Of course, I haven't unlocked level 7, but I have it pulled up so I know what level 7 actually gives. And let's start with level 1. So there's a Voidwalker Katana. It's garbage, not gonna lie, but you will need it for later weapons. Level 2, we have Null Ovoids, which are good. Soulflow Pile, which is nice. And Lesser Soulflow Engine, which is really nice. And then Soulflow, which is basically just crafted with 160 raw soulflow, so it's just a way to get soulflow faster. And so yeah, so this you're gonna want, and it's super cheap. I'm pretty sure I do have one, but in order to get soulflow, you'll need this if you're on Iron Man. If you're not on Iron Man, you can just buy it from the bazaar and you'll be perfectly fine. But if you're on Iron Man, you will need this, and it's really expensive to craft. And it only works effectively if it's placed in a Voidling minion, because then it like doubles the output of the Voidling minion. But yeah. And then next we have the Soul S Ward, which is cool, I guess. I don't know, it makes you invulnerable, but it also costs Soulflow. So if you're on Iron Man, then that's just, you're not getting it anytime soon, and that just is what it is. And then we have the Void Edge Katana, which this is nice because it gives you ferocity, but it costs Soulflow. So if you're on Iron Man, then it's pretty much useless. So that's always great, but you will need the Voidwalker Katana and a Refined Mithril, and of course a Null Ovoid. So it's cool, but not super helpful until you get Soulflow, which isn't easy to do on Iron Man, as I've said several times. Next up we have Enderman Slayer level 4. This has the full Final Destination set, as well as a travel scroll to the Void Scepter. Make sure that you're MVP plus before you craft this, because otherwise it'll just be a waste of materials. And then of course you get the recipe for a Voidling minion. You don't even get a Voidling minion, you just get the recipe for it. And it's not super expensive, but it's pretty expensive. Because, like, you'll start needing you'll need Enderman and Obsidian minions. And then, of course, you'll need a ton of Null Spheres and stuff. Null Ovoids. So, Voidling minion's good, but really expensive. And so, here we go. Let's talk about the Final Destination armor. Basically, what this does is, if you kill enough Endermen, you get a lot of defense against them, and it's really nice. But by a lot, and I'll talk more about this when I switch over to what you need to kill the Slayers, but by a lot, I mean like 30 to 50,000 Endermen. So it's a lot. But basically, with the full set bonus, it costs 2 Soulflow per 5 seconds while in combat while sneaking, you get plus 30 strength, plus 20 bonus attack speed, which is mostly for bows, plus 10 speed, you multiply your intelligence by 1.25, you gain 200 ferocity against Enderman, and you get 100% damage against Enderman. And as you can see, each of the armor pieces give you 100 intelligence in and of themselves, and that's basically because the most suggested way to kill an Enderman would be by using a mage set. And then you also need this for like healing stuff as well. So that's why they give intelligence. So you just have to make sure you watch your intelligence because it's very important, but you can also run out of it very quickly. Next up we have Enderman Slayer level 5. So here we have the Juju short bow, which is really nice. It's like the second best bow to use in dungeons. It's so overpowered. I mean I spent like some 30 or 40 days getting like all the resources for this. It was ridiculously expensive, but absolutely worth it. Well, okay, it was absolutely worth it until they came out with the Berserker update, and now my giant sword is better than the Juju. But that's besides the point. It was absolutely worth it. Now I honestly, it's mid. I mean, it's still good, but like, it at least for Zombie Slayer it doesn't work. I don't think it works on Tarantula Slayer. So, it works on Enderman. It doesn't work on Enderman Slayer, I would think. So it's still decent, but not the best. Anyways, now that we've got that out of the way, we're looking at the Soul Flow battery now, which just converts 4 Soul Flow into 400 Overflow mana. So it's cool, but again, you need Soul Flow, and you can't really get that easily on Iron Man. And then we have the Soul Flow engine, which, so if you have the Soul Flow engine, then when it's equipped on a Voidling, the output is increased instead of, well, I guess it's not instead of, it's just increased as well as it's decreased. So, I mean, it's still painful, but you need 4 lesser Soul Flow engines, so that's not easy, okay? It's not easy to get this on Iron Man. If you're not on Iron Man, just buy it off of the auction or the bazaar or whatever. But yeah, Iron Man pain. Anyways, here we have the Vorpal Katana. This is a really good weapon, only because of its right-click ability, which you need Soul Flow for. So again, painful to get on Iron Man. And then we have the Gloomlock Grimoire. It's cool, I guess. I mean, yeah, there's the craft if you want. I don't see a point in it. I don't see how it's useful or not useful. So if you want it, you can get it. But again, on Iron Man, I wouldn't waste the resources on it. Next up, we have level 6. There's the Gyrokinetic Wand, which it's cool. It's really expensive, but like, it's cool, I guess, because you can create a large rift, which is nice for like getting mobs together, then like quickly killing them. But it's also really expensive. I know people use this for like some dungeons and whatnot. I think that they use it on floor 6 to group up the terracottas to kill them easier, but that's about it, to be honest. And then we have the Aspect of the Void, which is basically the aspect of the end, just cheaper, I think. So, well, cheaper mana cost. It's definitely not cheaper, that's for sure. Yeah, it's a cheaper mana cost and does 20 more damage. So, other than that, it's the exact same. So, that's cool. And then we have the Atom Split Katana, which this is really nice. You gain 400 ferocity, but it costs Soul Flow. So, you know, there's only so much you can do when it costs Soul Flow. And then here we have the Sin Seeker Scythe. It's cool, I guess. I don't I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever seen anybody use it, but it's cool. I mean, it looks cool, and like it could be useful potentially. And then we have level 7. So basically, for level 7, there is the. Let me actually pull it up so I don't mess this up. Here we go. So there's an Ender Relic, which reduces the damage you take from Enderman, Ender Dragons, and Ender Mites by 25%. So that's pretty cool. There's the Ether Warp Conduit, which teleports you 57 blocks further. So it's 57 plus the 8, I believe. So that's really cool. Ether Warp Conduits are really nice. And then there's a Soul Flow Supercell, which converts 4 Soul Flow to 600 Overflow mana. But of course you need Soul Flow for that to work, so, you know, kind of painful. And then we have the best thing, which is the Terminator. So basically, how the Terminator works is it gives you a lot of bonus attack speed. The shot cooldown is 0.5 seconds. And of course it can shoot 3 arrows and can damage Enderman. But it divides your crit chance by 4. So yeah, that's cool, I guess. But its ability is you left click it, and it can be used after landing 3 hits. You shoot a beam and it penetrates up to 5 enemies. And the beam always does a critical hit. So that's really cool. And it costs 1 Soul Flow, so you know, kind of painful to get. But I mean, it's cool, I guess. It is the best bow in the game, I believe. So, but it's also super expensive because you need to drop a Judgment Core, which you can't drop one of those until you're already Enderman Slayer 7. Like, you literally cannot drop it until you're Enderman Slayer 7. It's one of these. Yeah, a lot of these require Enderman Slayer 7, so. Yep. Anyways, now to explaining this. I know I explained this at one point. Actually, I think I explained this pretty recently. But we're gonna explain it again and see how well it goes. So, Void Gloom Seraph 1, health is 300k, damage is 1200 per second. Basically, I was killing these in Shadow Assassin armor with, I think it was with a Livid Dagger, I believe. And then when I switched to my G-Sword, I started doing less damage because I didn't have maximum crit chance. So, either Livid Dagger or G-Sword. You could probably do it with something less than that, like an Aspect of the Dragons or something. But I do advise that, and I do advise full Shadow Assassin. I think I tried it in Strong Dragon armor, and I was able to kill it. It was just every other time I was able to kill it, so I just advise being careful about that. So I didn't even know I didn't know this was a thing. That's cool. Anyways, so yeah, next one is 12 million health. This is kind of annoying. Okay, so its passive is the same thing. It has a hit shield. It's the same as this. It has hit shield every 33% of health. So, and basically in its hit shield, you can get one hit, it takes one hit off every hit you get. So, and for the first one it does 50 hits, for the second one it's 30, for the third one it's 60 I believe, and for the fourth one it's 100. Might be wrong about these last two, but I know it's right about those two. And so 12 million health, damage is 5,000 per second. I have tried to kill this in full SA with my giant sword, have not been able to do it. So I will say you probably need like one of those fancy katanas. I would say probably the Vorpal katana. But of course that only works if you have Soul Flow, so if you don't have Soul Flow then that's not going to work. But yeah, I do advise having a Vorpal katana at least to try to take out this guy, because you need the ferocity. But basically what you do is you activate the ferocity of the Vorpal katana, and then you switch back to like a G-Sword or a Shadow Fury or something, because then you'll be getting maximum damage while you have that extra 300 ferocity or whatever it is. And one thing I will say, for higher levels, and even for this level, if you have like a summoning ring, or the scythe thing that you get from Zombie Slayer, then you want to be using that with like tank zombies from floor 7 dungeons, or with barbarians from the Crimson Isle to go through the hit shield. So that's what you want to use to go through the hit shield. You don't want to actually hit it unless it's Void Gloom Seraph 1, then you can actually hit it. It doesn't really make a difference. Now, one added feature of Void Gloom Seraph 2 is that it starts throwing Yang glyphs once it's at 50% health. Basically, how those glyphs work is if you don't stand next to them or on top of them within 5 seconds, you will instantly die, unless you have a Mithril Coat. Which basically how a Mithril Coat does is it all damage, the maximum it can do is 40% of your health. So that's the only way to survive this that I know of. Well, and Remnants of the Eye, which just insta-respawn you. Or like, you don't actually die, or, yeah. You know what I mean. But yeah, so that's how you take out Void Gloom Seraph 2. Shadow Assassin, I don't know if it'll work in SA. It might. It also might only work in Necron, or potentially you could even have to get Final Destination with like 5,000 kills or something. So they're pretty painful, to be honest. Anyways, next up we have Void Gloom Seraph 3, 50 million health. This is where you will need at least a Vorpal Katana, probably even an Atom Split Katana, because it just has too much health. Or you could, if you're carrying somebody in this, you can use Mage with like a Hyperion and Storm Armor. So, anyways, let's see here. So we have the hit shield, of course. We have the Yang glyphs that start at 66%. And then we have these Nukakubi fixations, which basically are they just spawn little heads, and they'll like float to you. And if you don't look at them, they will do like a ton of damage. So I advise looking at them once you see it. And so I always fight these in third person to like make sure they're not shooting anything at me. But just watch out for them, because they will destroy you. And so the armor you need for this, you're definitely going to need Final Destination. You'll probably need at least 10 to 20k kills with the Atom Split Katana and a G-Sword or Shadow Fury. Should probably do the trick. One side note I will mention here is that if you have a Juju or a Terminator, I don't actually know if they damage Enderman Slayer, but if they do, you could possibly sub out those for the G-Sword or Shadow Fury, if you have them. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Guaranteed Doom, Void Gloom Seraph 4, 210 million health. Has the same abilities as number 3, just a lot more damage per second and a lot more health. And to get this, I've heard that you could get it with 30k kills, but I've also heard that it is more likely to get it with up to 50k kills on Final Destination armor. And then, of course, you're going to want an Atom Split Katana, G-Sword, Shadow Fury, or Juju or Terminator. And you just have to watch your health. You also, one thing I didn't mention about Void Gloom Seraph 3, and probably you'll probably need it for 3, you'll definitely need it for 4, is you're going to need the Power Orb, which you get from the Sven Packmaster Slayer. So basically, here you have the Mana Flux Power Orb. You're going to want an Overflex Power Orb, probably, in order to kill the Slayer 3 and 4, because that just regens your health, and it most importantly regens your mana, so that whenever you get low on health, you can use wands. And you'll definitely, I guess one other thing I need to mention is that you're going to want a Florid Zombie Sword, and you're definitely going to want either a Wand of Restoration or a Wand of Atonement. You might need a Wand of Atonement to successfully pull that off. But anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. In the next episode, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing because I finished covering this, but I'll find something to talk about, surely. So anyways, that's going to be it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. and I will see you on the next one. Bye!